welcome back to the channel. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Nur, and he's had quite a remarkable story of transformation. So I'll give a quick introduction and then I'll let Nur introduce himself because he'll do himself more justice. But basically, Nur had life threatening asthma around 5 years ago, and he stumbled on quite a few resources, one that I also found in Dr. Sebi. But yeah, I'll let Noor introduce himself and give a little intro of his story.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you for having me on, Dylan. I truly appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation and share my story with everyone. I think this will definitely be helpful to anyone who's experienced anything similar and who's looking for a way out. So, as you mentioned, my name is Noor. I am a plant based fitness coach, yoga teacher, spiritual being, of course. And my health journey started about 5 years ago, where basically I came down with asthma, right? Adult onset asthma, where previous to that, I really never had any issues, respiratory issues, or really any health issues. But then that came out of nowhere per the doctor's, uh,
Like, mm,
knowledge and skills, right? Um, And so, that kind of led me down a deep, dark path, depression, a whole lot of other issues. And I made a choice to find a way out, right? Find a natural way where I didn't have to rely on pharmaceutical meds, which were making the situation worse, right? Um, so then, I came across some teachings and things started to change. And, we can definitely dive deeper into that. If you have any
yeah,
specific
for
questions
sure, for
to
sure.
leeway to that.
So around 5 years ago, when you were diagnosed with this, what was your current diet like? Were you standard vegan or what, standard American? What was your diet like?
Mhm. I was a standard vegan for sure. Uh, 3 years prior to that, I had switched over to veganism. But for those 3 years, I was a junk food vegan, right? So consuming all the meat alternatives and the processed vegan junk, really, that was really no better for my health than the standard American diet when I was eating animal products as well. And yeah, so that was really an eye-opening experience, going through the continued illness and issues during that time, and it made me realize that simply eating a vegan diet doesn't necessarily mean you're eating a healthy diet or one that's helping you and assisting in your body's overall natural functions, right? Optimal functions. So yeah, it vegan few years before so, and then I made the transition 5 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. That resonates with me a lot. I think for a lot of people, when they initially go vegan, they just assume because it's vegan, it's healthy. But like you say, you can have all the junk
Yeah.
food and the mock meats and things like that, which can be great when you're transitioning, but ultimately they're not conducive to health. So for you, why did you initially go vegan then? Was it for the ethical reasons or yeah, can you shed a bit of light?
Yeah, so I grew up in South Dakota, a small city by the name of Sioux Falls. It's a very, very, it's a city, but it's definitely on the smaller end, maybe 100,000, people. Um, and there's a lack of racial diversity and really just a diversity of thought
Mm,
in that area, right? So, grew up in a very closed-minded, kind of a reserved society, and I had a few friends where we all kind of, were outliers. We thought very differently. We were rebels, outlaws. We did not want to go with the okey doke of standard society, especially where we were living. So a couple of my friends came across some of the, I guess, inhumane videos where they show, the animals being slaughtered and um, uh, basically the treatment of animals in these slaughterhouses. And so they showed me that, and that really left a really deep impression on me, man, where I was like, geez, like this is the food that I'm eating. It's coming from here, and emotionally, it just didn't feel right to continue, on the same diet that I was at. So we all made a choice at that time to stop eating meat, right? And it was such a powerful choice because we knew no one else. Literally, we didn't know a single person who was vegetarian or vegan at that time. Of course, we came across some people online and whatnot, but um, I wasn't really online like that at that time. So we made the transition, and it was tough at first, of course, family members, friends, not being able to socialize and not be able to, eat out with friends because they're not
Yeah.
eating the same foods you are. And so we made the transition. A few friends fell off and they were just like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I got to go back to my old way of eating. But me and one of my good friends, we stuck to it. Right. So him and I are really the only two out of like five or six who made that transition at the time. We're still eating vegan slash plant based right now. And yeah, just never really looked back since then, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly like you say when you make that transition. I remember for me, I think it was around 5 or 6 years ago. You like you say, you don't fit in, and it can be very like ostracizing. You can feel maybe not lonely, but yeah, like a little bit of an outcast, and it definitely takes a lot of willpower and knowing your reasons why I think helps you stick on the path. But so if we move on a little bit, so what was the next progression? So you got this diagnosis, asthma, like the world was all crumbling around you. What was the next thing you
Yeah.
stumbled on? The accelerated your health, or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So around, I'm trying to think of years right now, man. Seems like the past few years have just flew by. So, um, I would say around 2016, 2017, right around that area, I came across the teachings of Dr. Sebi, which I'm sure a whole lot of people who may be listening to this, right now are aware of, right? He's an herbalist. He was a biochemist, naturopath, and he helped people cure themselves of many illnesses, including HIV, AIDS, lupus, diabetes, cancer. You know, the list is extensive, and he really, really did this on a big scale. And one of my friends introduced me to him. Was like, "Hey, I know you've been going through this asthma thing. Check out this Dr. Sebi guy." So I literally, for the next, I don't know, a few months, literally sat down and watched every single interview, podcast, anything to do with Dr. Sebi. I did the research on. Right. He didn't actually believe in books and writing books and nor reading books. He would always we used to say like, I'm a kid from the jungle, man. Like everything I needed to know, I had, right? My mom gave me everything that I needed to know. I did not need to be educated by an institutionalized system for me to know how to heal myself, right? So that was kind of his philosophy. Though I do believe if he would have wrote a book, his teachings would have been, far more
Sure.
spread out and accessible to people. But that's another topic. So I did all this research. I watched all the videos, all the interviews online, and really gained a good understanding and a belief now that, okay, changing what you eat can actually heal yourself, right? You can cure yourself of ailments and even do some deeper healing within that. His whole philosophy is that a alkaline plant-based diet can help alkalize the body, or at least get the pH of the body to a more alkaline level or neutral level. And that is what can help heal yourself of various ailments and illnesses. His thing is an acidic body or an acidic environment within the body is what disease thrives in,
Yeah.
right? ailments thrive in. So it wasn't necessarily about being alkaline, but it was about reversing the effects of basically acidosis, right? Of, overaccumulation of acid. And, once I really kind of understood that, I was like, all right, let me try it out. Let me see, how it happens. Let me go on this alkaline plant based diet and try um, some of his herbal compounds and see what happens, right? So I did so, and things instantly changed, right? So at the time, of discovering him, I was probably having 20 to 30 asthma attacks per week, right?
That's a lot. Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
kind of crazy to think of. Yeah, man, that's like, a few every hour or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, yo, there's got to be something else to do. I went into this diet, and instantly I went from 20 to 30 a week to about 3 to 4 a week, right? And I was like, okay, there's a lot of merit behind, what he was saying. You know, I later found out that basically dairy and gluten was a main cause of my asthma, and so cutting those off really did help with my asthma and get rid of it eventually. But outside of the actual ailments, the manifestation of that disease, I began doing some deep emotional healing, right? Some really deep purging, right? Because I was enlightening my body. I was cleansing my body of toxins that was also holding on to traumas, stress, emotions that I had not yet processed or dealt with. And so during this cleansing process, as I made the transition to the alkaline plant based diet, man, I was letting go of years worth of baggage, emotional baggage, right? And of course toxins as well. So I lost a bunch of weight, and yeah, just got really, really skinny. And then it was at that time where I made another transition. Okay, I'm not sure why the lights went off here.
The energy in the room.
Yeah, yeah, but it looks a lot more like your
Yeah,
setting.
the
So
dark, moody environment. but but yeah,
right.
so for you, it was like an instant improvement, an instant shift just by going on the alkaline diet. So for anyone, I'd say most of my audience probably know what the alkaline diet is, but maybe some people don't, and there might be new listeners. So for anyone who doesn't know the general premise of the alkaline diet, what kind of foods are on there, and what kind of foods are eliminated?
Yeah, so obviously it's a plant-based diet, so no animal products, right? Zero. But beyond that, it gets rid of hybrid vegetables, hybrid plants, right? Some of those common hybrid plants that most of us or a lot of us eat on a daily basis and actually think is good for us on a molecular level, there are certain foods that are not good for us due to, first of all, it was created in a lab, right? So it's a hybrid vegetable, hybrid fruit, or hybrid, plants. And when something is hybrid and unnatural, it does not assimilate to our cells, right? So our body doesn't actually recognize it as food. So it's not actually bioavailable, and we do not get the benefits from the food that we think we are getting from it. So that is one thing that is eliminated from this diet is hybrid foods. Another thing that's eliminated is foods that are high in starch, right? Dr. Sebi, this whole, way of eating, the understanding of starch is that it is an inorganic compound that combines two organic compounds to make a new food, right? To make something new, right? So, an example of a highly starched food is just russet potatoes, right? Russet potatoes are basically just starch, not a lot of nutritional value behind it. And when we consume something like russet potatoes or anything high in starch, our body doesn't recognize the starch. So instead of it digesting it, it simply sits in our body, causes inflammation, causes toxins, and causes a whole host of issues that is just not good for us. So No starch. I shouldn't say no starch, no high starch foods, because a lot of foods they have minimal starch, and um, you know that's acceptable in this way of eating. What else? Oh, no seeded fruits, right? I should say no seedless fruits. Excuse me. So all the fruits got to have seeds in it because that then shows that it is you can reproduce, right? You can create another plant from this food, and yeah, as far as more details on exactly why that is, I'm
Yeah,
not
people can
sure.
look it up, but
Um,
that's a great overview.
yeah,
I think definitely it's a great for me personally. It was a great foundation, and I'd say maybe 95% of Dr. Sebi's work I completely agree with. I do think maybe there's potentially some flaws, like with anyone. I never fully agree 100% with everyone. But do you feel like there's maybe some beneficial hybrids, maybe just through hybridization in nature?
yes, for
Mm.
sure. And I'm with you. So I'm not completely alkaline plant based. I was for a certain amount of time, but I realized like I'm about maybe 80, 85% right now. And some of the other foods that are I do eat are hybrid foods, right? So some of the hybrid foods that I do consume that I think are still good for you. Um, really got to think about that. I know I consume them, but I just got to think about which ones in particular. Um, yeah. So he mentions obviously seeded fruit, right? So everything's got to have
Yeah.
seeds in them. I eat baby bananas. Now, baby bananas are a less starchier form of the regular larger bananas, but they don't have, at least the ones I consume, they don't have
Mm.
seeds in them, right? So technically, that's a hybrid fruit. Um, so that is one thing, and there are many others, right? I always say like some things are better than others. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have access to, preferably organic, non-GMO, clean hybrid fruits, right? Stuff like even what he considers grapefruit as being a hybrid fruit, right? I don't know if I believe in that, but that's
Yeah.
just what
Mm.
the philosophy is. So I consume grapefruit. I consume grapefruit. Another thing is lemon, right? He did not suggest the consumption of lemon, even if it had seeds in it, right? So lemon obviously has a lot of benefits to it. Cleanses, purifies the body. When we consume the lemon, it becomes alkaline in
Yeah.
our body, though it is acidic in nature, right? So those are a few things, but you know, um, it's a great foundation, as you said. But the deeper you get into the plant-based healing lifestyle, you kind of find your own way of doing things that work best for
Yeah,
you.
precisely, precisely. And I think with the seeded and the seedless, there's a lot of people like if you've heard of Dr. Robert Morse, he's had like amazing
Yep.
healing testimonials just on seedless grapes. So you can definitely still heal. And like you say, it's just making the best choices with what you've got in front of you and not beating yourself up. So obviously we just said it's a great foundation. So how has that progressed for you? Like now, just say I say, what's a typical day look like for you? Like so, what time do you get up, and then what kind of foods do you eat throughout
Mhm.
the day?
Yeah, this is the juicy stuff. I love talking about this. Um, so I get up fairly early now. I get up at between 4 a.m. to 4:30
Wow.
a.m. And then I do a fasted workout first thing in the morning. So between like 5 a.m. to about 6:30, I'm in the gym. Currently, I'm in a weight training routine because my current goal right now is to continue gaining muscle mass with the diet that I'm consuming. And so usually get home by 6:37. Um, and then I get right to work, man. I get right to work. I do my most important task, right? Which is typically, I don't know, creating some type of maybe a funnel, or it might be hopping on a call with, someone, a sales call, something. Um, and then, so even at that point, I haven't consumed anything. And then more recently, and this is something brand new to me, and I don't suggest it for everyone, but I got to be honest on what I'm currently doing. I've been drinking matcha tea, right? So I've been caffeine free for a very long time, up until maybe about 2 to 3 weeks ago, as my workload has really, really increased. So I drink matcha tea, which gives me a whole boost of energy first thing in the day. Um, and then maybe an hour after that, I get into my fruits. Okay. And I eat fruits in a very, very almost clinical way, right? So I have the same amount of fruits every day in the
Hmm.
same order, typically at the same time. And it usually starts with dates. So I soak dates in some spring water to soften it up, and it makes it makes them easier to digest, right? And it also helps get rid of some toxins and things on the surface of the dates. So I eat about 9 to 11 dates. I then consume maybe 4 to 5 dried figs that were actually also rehydrated in some water and soaked. Um, I then consume recently tamarind. Are you familiar with tamarind?
Not really. I've heard people talk about it, but no. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. Tamarind fruit is a tropical fruit. I think it originates in like the Mexico, South America
Okay.
area, but it looks like a pod, right? So it's like maybe, I don't know, 4 inch pod. Um, and you eat the fruit that's inside, which is kind of like a dark red flesh. And it's tangy, slightly sweet in flavor. It's really, really good for your digestion,
Okay.
right? So it helps, you know, move things along. Um, Acts as a very, very mild laxative, nothing too serious, but it's also high in iron, right? And iron is something that we all need. It's something that we majority of us, I believe, are not getting enough of, and it's really tasty. So I eat about 4 of those. And then afterwards, I hop into either some baby bananas or red bananas, typically about 4 to 5 of those. And then, yeah, man. And then throughout this time, I'm obviously working as well. Um, and then I try to get in some water as well. As far as fruits, that's pretty much what I'm doing right
Hmm.
now. During the spring and summertime, it kind of differs based on what's available locally, but those are kind of like my winter fruits that I consume on a regular basis. And then I have my one larger, basically high raw meal of the day a little later. Um, and that typically consists of a large, like spring salad with some avocado seeds, hemp seeds, nuts, grains, um, and maybe a little quinoa and a combination of maybe some cooked veggies,
Hmm.
right? And that's my typical day of eating.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
there
So for you personally, in terms of the fruits, you like to stick with whatever's in season and locally available. Would you ever go for like,
for the
yeah?
most part.
Would you ever just say, I don't know, it's winter now as we're filming this, it's December. Would you ever go for like mangoes or things like that?
If I can get some quality mangoes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure. Around this time here, I haven't been able to find
Same
them at
here.
all.
Just for the
So
people. So
yeah,
where are
yeah,
you located in the world? Just for the people.
yeah. I'm in Minnesota right now,
Oh.
so Minnesota has some of the toughest winters in the U.S. by far. If anyone's been here, lived here for a period of time, you know what's up. So um, that means not a lot of access to fresh fruits during the wintertime. It's all mostly imported, unless you got a green room or a greenhouse or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's tough to get ripe, tasty mangoes
Same
around this
here.
time here.
I just don't bother now because, like you said, that the it's important quality as well of fruit because for me personally, like just say I have three kind of okay mangoes, maybe one and a half really nice juicy ripe ones would provide me with the same energy. So it's not even really worth it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
then you said you have like a high raw meal. Is that in the evening for like dinner time?
Yeah, I try to consume it before
Yeah.
5. That way I have some time to digest before I go to
Mm.
bed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
And
the evening
do you
time.
think for most people, because like maybe some of my listeners are like fully raw or they want to be fully raw, do you think it's like necessary for most people to be fully raw, or do you think you can still thrive with like many high raw?
You can definitely thrive eating high raw. Um, I've noticed, particularly based on the climate, right? So I have bouts of being completely raw, especially during the high summertime, where hydration is really the main thing that I'm focused on. Um, and then I have bouts of, consuming maybe mostly cooked, right? But currently I'm high raw, about maybe 80, 70% raw, 20 to 30% cooked. And yes, you can definitely thrive on it. It's really just about finding the cooked foods that allow you to remain energized and doesn't cause the digestive issues that a lot of cooked foods do,
Mm.
right? And yeah, I for me, I'm on my muscle gaining journey, so packing in, as much good food as I can to help with the cellular regeneration process and the muscle building process has helped me out and is continuing to help me. So that's where the cooked food comes in hand, where volume wise I'm able to consume a lot more. But I don't think it's necessary. I think you can definitely thrive and even build muscle on a fully raw diet. But I think diet, or I think climate, and your lifestyle, and there's a whole lot of other factors that go into it. But I will say, 100%, the best I've ever felt on a consistent basis was when I was 100% raw.
Yeah, for sure. Like you say, it's just about identifying your current like environmental conditions, obviously your needs, like how much energy do you need, or and finding good foods, like you said, the lesser digestive intensive, we could say, like cooked foods, so the things that aren't gonna leave you feeling lethargic. And yeah, like you say, like 70-80% raw, I honestly believe as well, for most people that's still like really really good. And like, yeah, like
Yeah,
recently here it's been pretty cold. If I've made the mistake of not stocking up on enough fruit and things like that, then in the evening maybe I'll have like a soup, or some steamed veg or sweet potato, things like that. And yeah, it feels a tiny bit more dense, but for me that's still really really healthy. And yeah, so then if we move on, like you say, the muscle building journey, I see I've seen your transformation on social media. I see, was it 15 pounds you've gained of muscle since your initial kind of detox?
yes. So during my transition to the plant-based diet, and really years of being on that, I should say the alkaline plant-based diet, I eventually got down to my lowest weight as an adult, right? So I was like soaking wet, maybe 125, 120
Yeah.
pounds, right? um, was very, very, I mean, I felt amazing. I felt great. Energy was through the roof,
How tall?
spiritual
Sorry, just quickly,
connection.
how tall are you?
What's that? 5'8".
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. So
Yeah,
you felt
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So yeah, I felt amazing. Energy was through the roof. Like, I felt great, right? But I was super, super thin, right? And as much as I wanted to tell myself that the comments from other people telling me, like, oh man, like, you're super skinny, man, like, what's going on? And as much as I wanted to tell myself that that didn't affect me, it did, right? And not only that, I'm a huge basketball player. I love playing basketball, played most of my life. It's one of my ways of staying active and kind of expressing my competitive energy, right? And I began noticing I was getting like pushed around, man. I was getting swung around, pushed around. And I decided at that point, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to not only prove to myself, but prove to others that you can gain strength, build muscle, and, just be super athletic on this very clean, high raw plant based diet, right? So I began lifting weights basically and eating more of the same foods that I was eating, right? So nothing changed. I didn't start, consuming vegan protein powders. I didn't, hop on creatine. I didn't do none of that, right? I literally told myself, I'm going to consume the same things that I'm eating, eat a higher volume of it, and start hitting the weights and see what happens, right? So within the first month, I instantly saw a big difference. Um, Definitely saw more defined muscle tone, and definitely felt stronger. And then over the I would say after the first 3 to 4 months, I noticed my weight gain was about 8 to 10 pounds in that short amount of time, right? So part of that was that my body went through a shock period,
Mm.
right? So I never it's been probably a decade before that where I had actually lifted weights like in a weight room. So my body wasn't used to, lifting all this external weight. So when I did that, my body was like, oh, okay, time to start building this muscle. So it really built muscle in a very, very quick time period. And I was completely shocked, man. I went from 125 to 135 in 3 months. And it felt great, felt amazing. And then I kind of hit a plateau for a little bit, right? So then I continued and I was like, okay, well, let me just continue what I'm doing and see how much more weight I can gain. And, here I am probably 6 months later, and I've gained a whole another 5 pounds, right? So a total of 15 pounds since then. And yeah, man, I'm continuing to adjust my exercises, adjust my workouts, and eat more so I can continue gaining
Yeah.
this weight, right? So
Uh,
I'm learning as I go,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
and it's been great,
Yeah,
man.
and an important distinction is that's lean muscle mass or weight gain. It's not like a dirty
Yes.
bulk where like anyone can gain weight quickly with dirty bulk and eating foods like that. But no, it's sustainable. And I
Yeah,
think a lot
man.
of people with muscle growth, they chase like the quick gains, don't they? Like, oh yeah, I gained 5 pounds, blah blah blah. But most of it's fat. So it's good that you've done it sustainably and you're feeling better
Oh,
and you're
yeah, man.
making progress. And
Yeah. I haven't done a body fat assessment, but I'm pretty sure it's really, really
yeah,
low, man. I don't got a lot of body
yeah,
fat
from
on
what
me
I've seen
at
on
all.
Instagram, you look very lean, but like defined as well. It's good. But yeah, I came from a similar standpoint. Like I'm by no means where I want to be, but I felt good. I was really skinny. I can't remember the exact weight, but a similar weight, and I'm taller than you, but maybe slightly more weight. But yeah, I was telling myself, it didn't matter. But people's comments were cutting deep because I knew they were true. I was looking in the mirror and I didn't feel confident with my body. So yeah, I resonate with that fully, and I think it's important to at least have a foundational level of strength and muscle mass, especially as a guy. Like for self confidence, definitely, I feel way more confident
Mhm.
now. So yeah, for you
Yeah.
now. So what does a typical like week look like in terms of exercise? So like how often do you go to the gym and what kind of exercises do you do?
Mhm. Yeah. So currently I'm on a 4-day workout split. So I usually do a Monday, Tuesday, take Wednesday off, the Thursday, Friday, and then take the weekend off, in terms of weightlifting. So I typically do a shoulder day where it's mainly shoulders. And then, so it's a, yep, shoulder day, mainly shoulders. Then I hop into leg day, or mainly legs. And I do some upper body as well. And then I have a full body day. And then usually the fourth day, I actually repeat a shoulder day, right? So it's it's actually a 3 workout split, but I do it for 4 days of the week. So one of the workouts I repeat through the week, um, and it's been working for me, man. It's been great, and actually, it's in line. It's very very similar to, I'm sure a lot of your listeners might know who Ted Carr is. So he has a workout guide that he provides, in his
Mm.
social medias, and that was my foundation when I first began the weightlifting process. And I've adjusted it here and there a little bit, but it was derived from his workout guide. And yeah, it's effective, man. It works. It works. And, one of the key aspects of weight training, especially if you're not, juicing up, right? If you're not taking steroids, if you're not, taking all these extra supplements to help you out, it's that you got to make time for recovery. It's super important that you allow your muscles to fully recover or get as close to a fully recovered body as possible before you go back into the weight room, right? So I started off 3 days a week, and now that my body is kind of adjusted to the weightlifting routine, I'm at 4 days a week. Who knows? I might go up to five, down the line. But a lot of it is really just listening to my body. If I feel super sore and tense one morning or the night after doing a weight training routine, I'm not going to work out the next day,
Yeah.
bro. I'm just going to chill. I'm going to use this as my day off, and then go do it again tomorrow. Maybe go a little lighter, because I it's really about how effectively you can perform the exercises, right? Not about how frequently you are exercising. At least that's what I've figured out throughout my journey, man. You gotta make time and space to fully recover before you hit the gym again, especially if you're doing it
Yeah.
naturally.
For sure. For sure. And in terms of training philosophy, what do you believe in? Like going fully to failure, or maybe leaving a couple of reps in the tank? What do you personally do?
I go to failure for sure.
Mm.
Yep. Almost every set, I'm at failure to the literally where I
Yeah.
cannot do
Shaking.
anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, shaking, what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I forget to get a spotter. I'm like, yo, come here. I need help with this bench. Um, and yeah, that's what works for me. And honestly, even psychologically, mentally, that's what gives me that satisfaction. Like I gave it everything I got, right? Whereas if I was like at 70 to 80% failure, um, I wouldn't feel good about that set. I wouldn't feel good about my
Yeah.
workout, right? I like feeling close to exhausted after a workout, right? To then, maybe I can, I'll recover shortly after. But right after the workout, I want to give all the juice I got, and feel like I left nothing
Hmm.
out there, right? So currently, that's where I'm at and what's been working for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I've ever the very few times where I haven't fully like gone to failure or something, I know it deep down. I'm like, oh, I should have given more there, and I beat myself up. So yeah, I think also once you really push it, then you feel like you've kind of earned your meals, don't you? Your food. So do
Yeah,
you,
bro,
in terms of
for
food, do
sure.
you kind of what do you do? Do you work out fasted or yeah?
Yes. Yeah. So since I began doing these early morning workouts, I drink a little bit of spring water right before, and then some more spring water afterwards. I typically don't eat my first fruit meal until maybe 2 hours after my workout. So, yeah, it's completely fasted. And I actually just began doing that maybe about a month or two ago. And it's amazing, man. It's great. Better performance, less, it cuts down my recovery time. And everything's just been, it works, bro. It works. I think it is important to make sure you're hydrated at the least, though, because, the worst thing you can do is be dehydrated while doing, intense weight training exercises or any
Hmm.
type of exercise. So I think hydration is very important. But if you're doing early morning workouts, I think fasted workout is definitely the best.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do them all the time, and like you said, the energy and the recovery. There's definitely something to be said about intermittent fasting, or like you say, working out fasted. Like the flow of energy, it does definitely feel effortless. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
man.
not to say we don't eat, but it's just yeah, I've noticed that as well. And in terms of like mindset and mentality and things like that, to me you seem very focused, very disciplined, which is something I resonate with as well. And what do you credit for that? Do you have like a meditation practice or certain mantras in your head? What's your approach to mindset and mentality?
Great question, bro.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. I really like your questions. So I practice Kundalini yoga on used to be on a daily basis. It used to be twice a day actually, but now it's maybe 3 to 4 times a week. And that's my main meditation, grounding, spiritual practice, right? So I've been practicing that consistently for about 4 years now. It's been one of the most potent and powerful practices in my life by far. And to give just, I guess, a better understanding and
Yeah,
or
sure.
overview of what Kundalini Yoga is for those who may not be familiar, it's considered to be the most potent form of yoga, right? So it allows us to activate the dormant life force energy that it sits dormant in the base of our spine, right? Also known as the root chakra. And through dynamic breathing, movements, and mantras, you activate this dormant life force energy, also known as Kundalini, also known as Chi, right? And you allow it to, excuse me, flow upwards through, up the spine and throughout the body, right? And this produces almost a feeling of being more alive and awake, right? It's definitely energizing, but not in a way like caffeine or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's more just like you're awake, you're alert, but at the same time you're calm, right? And in terms of focus and my overall calm demeanor, that has been a huge proponent or a huge cause of that, right? Is my continuous Kundalini practice. And of course, outside of that comes, a deeper spiritual connection. Also, a lot of, working through emotions, right? Suppressed emotions and stuff that we haven't dealt with. It really allows us to deal with what we need to deal with in a very direct way, right? Whereas if more of the stretch based relaxing yogas, right? Those are, you see the effects of those more over time. With Kundalini Yoga, after one potent session, you will definitely feel the effects. It is super, super potent, but it's also super accessible and super, somewhat easy to do, right? Um, I, it's it's easy for me to say that because I've been doing it for 4 years. But even when I started, I realized like, okay, I don't necessarily need to be super flexible. I don't need to hold poses for like 3 to 4 minutes, like some of the other forms of yoga. I can literally sit, in a comfortable seated position, expand my body, right? So expand my chest and contract my chest while doing these breathing techniques, right? This rhythmic breathing technique, and literally within a short amount of time, even if you do it for 10 to 15 minutes, man, for me, that's similar to doing like a 2 hour um, yin or relaxing stretch based yoga
Yeah.
session, right?
So
So, yeah, that's been my main
yeah, it sounds
practice
really
for
interesting. I've
sure.
heard Chris Kendall recently talk about it as well. So just say I want to get started or a viewer wants to get started. What would you recommend? Do you have like a set video you go to or a set routine? Like how does someone get started with it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of organizations and a lot of people who are been practicing, have been teaching Kundalini yoga for years and years. Um, there's a lot of ways to get started. I got started through a, I guess you can call them an organization, through a group by the name of Life Force Academy, right? And they basically offer online courses, classes, even teacher training certifications through their website, lifeforceacademy.com. And it's led by, a very dope dude, cool individual, someone I look up to. His name is Jai Dave, and that's how I got started. That's how I got introduced to it. I'm actually currently, so I've been teaching breath work and even Kundalini yoga locally for maybe about a year. Um, but I'm actually currently, as of tomorrow, starting a teacher training certification program for myself to really dive deep into the basics or the foundation of yoga. So um, I'm really excited for that because that's going to really expand my knowledge outside of the consistent practice that I've been doing, which I feel provided me with the confidence and the assurity to actually lead others through that practice as well. But now I'm, really diving even deeper to expand my yoga practice beyond Kundalini and get more into like Vinyasa and Hatha yoga as well. So, um, but if you would like a quick and I would say very
Hmm.
informative tutorial on how to do a 3 to 5 minute yoga training session, I can provide you one. I have a video tutorial that I provide to people. And basically, if you follow me on my Instagram, Noor's Plant Life, and send me a DM with the word breath, I can provide you with that tutorial. That will basically, the tutorial is maybe 15 to 20 minutes long. So I dive deep into how to do it, why we're doing it, etc. But the actual exercise is 3 to 5 minutes long,
Okay.
right? So,
Uh,
yeah, that's a great way to start. It's very simple, very easy, and it doesn't require much
Yeah,
time.
I'll be hitting you up for that, I think. Sounds interesting, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
in
man.
terms of something I had a little thought while you were saying that, it's kind of linked. It's maybe the importance of money, especially from a conscious entrepreneur point of view, and in this modern day, in this modern age. How do you feel about money? Because you're currently a coach, right? So you're providing a lot of value, a lot of
Yep.
service. What's your approach to money and your philosophy around money? How do you see it?
I think money is one of the greatest tools we can use for change and to make things happen. Honestly, um, yeah, I think money is great, man. If it's used wisely, it's energy at the end of the day, right? So it's an energetic
Hmm.
exchange, and you know, I think it's a great tool, and I don't think it's everything, but I think it's currently what society is used to in terms of trading and being able to, make things happen, manifest dreams and stuff like that. I think it's something that we should all use as a very, very helpful tool to help create what we want to see in this world. You know what I mean? And yeah, I enjoy it, man. I like it. Bring the money my way,
Yeah.
man. That's what I
For
say
sure,
for
for sure.
sure.
I agree. I think if you're a good individual, it only amplifies your character. I think, yeah, I
Yeah.
think if a positive soul gets money, then I think they can do more good in the world. And yeah, I agree 100%. So that kind of ties into your coaching. How do you, in terms of coaching, it's something I'm interested in as well. Is it fulfilling? Is it yeah? How would you describe working as a coach for you personally? Like, do you enjoy it or is
Mhm.
it stressful? Or, yeah,
It can be stressful
yeah,
for sure, just as really anything. But fulfilling is definitely a great term. Yes, 100%. Because I feel like a lot of us, when we look to, achieve our dreams or do what we love to do as a living, sure, we want the wealth and, the monetary gains from that. But deep down inside, we want to feel fulfillment, bro. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? We want to feel like what we're doing is actually making a great impact in the lives of others and you know the world, right? So it is very fulfilling, bro. The one of my first clients I work with, she got amazing results, man, and she's continuing to get amazing results. We're actually still working together, and yeah, when you can witness the change, the positive change in others, right? And they're literally like thanking you for providing them the tools, resources, support, accountability for them to make a huge change in their life. And, I'm a plant based fitness coach, right? So that's kind of like the surface level of what I help people with. But when people change what they eat, how they move, and combine that with certain practices, bro, it changes their entire life and not just their health or wellness,
Mm,
right? So when you see that you were a key or integral part of someone's ability to improve their entire life, right? It's like, yo, it energizes you, man, on a very deep level where, all of the ups and downs and the stresses that come with it, it's all worth it, man. It's all worth it. And it's like, yo, this is definitely what I enjoy doing, and I want to continue doing this and help as many people as possible. By making that positive impact.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I imagine it to be. I can't imagine many more things that are that fulfilling. And like you said, it's like a whole life transformation. Like obviously you've got diet, you've got exercise, you've got practices and habits and things like that. But once you dial in all of those things and like you said, and see the transformation, I can just imagine how that feels. So people might be thinking, yeah, that's easy for you to say. You've got this amazing story of transformation. You're doing well. But how do I get into coaching? Like I'm not good enough. Like we all experience that imposter syndrome. What would you say? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
would you say to someone who's thinking of getting into coaching but just a bit on the fence?
If you've made any type of improvement, have progressed in any aspect of your life, and you truly believe that you can help others at least get to where you're currently at, then you can become a
Hmm.
coach, right? You don't necessarily need to be this amazing, like, or have this amazing transformation. For example, we'll think about, we'll say fitness. Let's say you, are slightly overweight and you have this long term goal of losing 50 pounds within the next few months or a year or whatever. And, there's a lot of people who have that similar goal or maybe even lesser goals. Um, And so within the next month, you've worked towards your goal and you've lost 5 to 10 pounds, let's say 10 pounds, right? You haven't made it to your last or your ultimate goal of losing 50 to 60, but you've lost
Yeah,
10. And there are many people who would love to learn and be coached on how to lose 10 pounds, right? So being that you've made that progress and have achieved that milestone, you can help others do the same, right? And people will pay you to help them get there as well. You know what I'm saying? And they'll happily pay you. You know what I'm saying? So, um, imposter syndrome is something that we all go through, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I've gone through, I still go
oh yeah,
through it,
we all do.
but I catch that within myself and I'm like, nah, bro, you got what it takes. You know what I'm saying? You've got what it takes. So it's not about being this like superstar or making this like amazing change. If you made any type of change that you're proud of, that you know that you can help others make a change, then you can become a coach. I think what's important to know and understand is that coaching isn't all like fun and games, right? You've gotta tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, right? So generally I think I'm a very like, kind guy. I'm, fairly, I like to make people feel good. But I also know that, and this is just going through life, man, that I gotta let people know what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. And sometimes that might make me be perceived as an asshole, as someone who's just
Mm.
this jerk, right? And that's okay. That's cool. That's all right with me, as long as you understand it's for the greater good, and that I'm trying to get to you to your
Yeah,
goal,
it's necessary.
right? So, um, very necessary,
Yeah,
bro,
for sure.
for sure.
Exactly. You only have to be one step ahead. I think people don't even want
Yes.
to learn from like a perfectionist anyway. They just want someone who's relatable and yeah, I fully agree. So
Yeah.
I'm just aware of the time, but I think it would be good to end on some rapid fire questions. So, are you
Let's do it,
ready?
bro.
Let's go.
Yes.
Okay. What's your favorite fruit?
Mhm. Whoo, damn, you're gonna hit me with that right away. Oh man. Currently it's gotta be dates.
Mm, yeah. Same here as well. They're
Yeah.
great staple. Describe yourself in one word.
Calm.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Very calm demeanor.
Yeah.
It's nice. What's one thing that everyone needs to buy or should buy?
Mm, it's a good one, man. Ah, fruit, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go without it. What's one book that everyone needs to read?
Hmm, it's also a tough one. Just right off top, and I haven't read this in years, but How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great book,
Hmm.
bro. If
Yeah,
you're trying to progress in life in any
yeah. I need
way.
to reread it, I think. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Hmm. Your what you perceive others perceive you as is usually not the truth, right? So people usually perceive you as something other than what you think they perceive you
Mm.
as. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think I
Yeah.
heard Jay Shetty say something about it. Something about, yeah, I'm not even going to try and quote it, but it's like something about I am who I'm not who you think I don't know. It's a long quote, but I fully understand where you're coming from. What are
Yeah.
three things that you can't live without?
Fruit, exercise, yoga.
Nice, nice. What's your greatest strength and biggest weakness?
Greatest strength is ability to ground and help others ground. Weakness may be. I've been working on my weaknesses a lot, man.
That's good to
So
hear.
I'm gonna have to think about that. Yeah. Um, I guess it's asking for help.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's improved, but it's definitely something that's still a weakness for sure.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Do what you love, bro.
Mm.
Do what you love. Forget everything else and do what you love.
Yeah, that's what life's all about. Do you believe in having a purpose? If so, what is your purpose in life?
Yes, I do believe in that. My purpose is to heal and help others heal as well.
Yeah, that's a great purpose. And finally, what are you grateful for today?
Man, I am grateful for the sun peeking through this window, even though it's minimal. You know what I mean? It's it's still felt and
Yeah,
appreciated.
man, you're luckier than me. It's dark here. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate your time and answering all the questions. So if you want to plug yourself, let the people know what you got going on before we end. That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you for the interview, bro. Truly enjoyed it. Great questions, and
Appreciate that.
I'm really excited to continue seeing your journey as you flourish.
Likewise, man.
Through your podcasting and everything else. Your energy is definitely on point, and I resonate with it. Um, so thank you for that, first and foremost. And yeah, man, y'all can find me on Instagram, Nurs Plant Life. That's Nurs Plant Life. Same thing on TikTok, Facebook. You can find me. I have links to my Facebook group on my Instagram. Um, and yeah, just check me out. Instagram is my main social media platform. So check me out. I got a whole lot of, helpful information on that. Provide a lot of free information and resources. And yeah, man, just if I can depart with one final statement, it would be health is wealth, right? So without our health, any monetary, any other type of gains that we make, what that we perceive as wealth, we're unable to enjoy it, right? So I think it's really important to hone in and key in on our health so it makes everything else in life much more enjoyable, more accessible, and easier to do, right? So just remember that, y'all. Like, focus on your health, and everything else will fall into place.
100% agree. And yeah, thank you for your time once again. I'll leave all your links down below. And thank you to the listeners. I want you to leave your biggest takeaway down below, and either me or Noor will get back to you. Anyway, peace and love, everyone.
Yes, sir. Peace, y'all.